When did you get to that point where you're like, okay, I've done what I can here in Kodiak. This has been a good run, and now it's time to move on? Because you had a solid run there, and I mean, I can't think of anybody who had more of an influence on naval special warfare, mountaineering, warfare tactics, gear than you did during that time frame. What made you want to move on? I mean, you had a long run there, so it wasn't like you just did a couple of years and moved on. Like you were all in up there, and it
Yeah.
was awesome to see how things evolved and see your impact on the community. But what moved you on to the next stage in life?
I just think realizing that I had done everything I wanted to do
Yeah.
and a lot more. We had just got done writing, I forget what it was, like, but basically the TTPs for cold
Mhm.
weather warfare. And quite frankly, I mean, at a certain point, you can't keep up with the young guys. Like I was able to keep up because my skill set was so much higher that I could rely on that. But once I went past 40 and a couple years past that, I just realized that not only was I, kind of lost half a step, I'd done everything I wanted to do, but quite frankly, it was time for other people to kind of
Mhm.
take the reins. And that's the only way things advance, right? Because if
Mhm.
not, then it's going to be me and my mindset, and this is the way we do it. Now, I don't ever want to
Got it.
be that guy. And so I had to
Interesting.
really put the ego in check and go, all right, it's time to move on.
Hmm.
This was going to come to an end at some point anyways. I'd
Mhm.
rather leave on my own terms than someone else's. And so I really started to think about that. And I would tell you, if, to be honest, probably 2 years prior to me actually retiring and moving on,
Mhm.
I knew I was ready to go.
Yeah.
But I'm a person that wants to, I definitely want to have a plan,
Oh, yeah.
at least a direction to go. And so that's kind of when I started saying, what do I like to do? I wanted something I was going to be passionate about because
Mhm.
for 26 years, I'd been passionate about every single day, waking up and the guys I worked with. And I knew it wasn't going
Yeah.
to be the same, but I wanted something that was kind of the civilian equivalent if I could get it. And, I wanted to work in an industry where people enjoyed themselves and kind of had, some fun. And so it was either hunting or the mountaineering avenue I wanted to go. Um, Hunting seemed to be the better fit for me at the time. And literally, I remember sitting straight up in bed from a dead sleep at like 2 a.m. And the thought went through my head, go to work for SITKA Gear.
Nice.
I didn't know anybody there. I had no, nobody in the hunting industry I could reach out to, and all of it. I just said that is what I need to do, and so I just kind of starting to collect and get all my stuff in order to kind of drop my papers and leave, and I get a email from a guy at Gore. So the military side of Gore used to come up because we were a schoolhouse, and they would run things by us like, hey,
Mhm.
try this, or hey, try that, or does this have any interest? And they had some really stupid stuff. Some of it was good, but a lot of it was crazy, like trying to swim in so you imagine a dry suit like our mass suit
Uh-huh.
with like a bunch of like a turkey suit with like a
Uh-huh.
bunch of,
Oh, geez.
and I'm like, you
Wow.
guys want to put that on and go swim in the ocean? Like
Wow.
you're going to drown.
Yeah.
Like this is a dumb idea. Anyways, so one of those guys reached out and said, hey, he had no idea I was retiring.
Mhm.
He said, hey, do you realize there's a job at SITKA? And Gore acquired SITKA. He said, I think you'd be perfect for the job. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I applied, and I'm really getting close to my window of getting out, like within a couple months.
Mhm.
Still nothing solid. I was going to move back to Salt Lake. I had a home there. I had some family there. So I had a fall, that's where I was going. I knew that. And anyways, I go through the process, great interview. And they said, the answer is not no, it's just not now. Well, what I didn't realize was the job I was applying for, which was this big game product manager, it didn't exist until just a few months prior when they were restructuring the company.
Mhm.
And so I was going to be the first one. And the person who I was kind of taking the reins from was the founder of the company, our mutual friend, Jonathan. So, of
Mhm.
course, try to fill those shoes, right? Um, so that was
Yeah.
kind of, so anyways, they went through this long deal. I end up, uh, I end up leaving Alaska, move to Salt Lake, get a job at Beyond Clothing with my dear friend Rick Elder, doing some really cool specialized stuff for
Mhm.
some, different units, and I was enjoying it, but I knew it was not going to be, the ultimate thing I wanted to do.
Not the long
And
term.
sure enough, SITKA calls back, or the hiring people call back, and they're like, "Hey, you said to keep us on your short list and that you were, always available to talk." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." "Well, the founder wants to talk to you. Would you be willing to talk to him?" So I talked to him. I was in Seattle at the time, and there's going to be a backstory to this. So, anyways, I talked to Jonathan on the phone, and he's like, "Hey, man, we want to bring you out to Bozeman to interview." I go out there. My first real job interview, like, ever in my life, right? So I show up there, a big, like, 8-hour long interview process. I'm in the Bozeman airport drinking Willie's whiskey like it's going out of style, wondering if I screwed it up, and my one chance to ever work for the company was gone, And Jonathan called me. I'd been out of the office 2 hours, and he called me. He said, do you really want this job? Like, you really know what you're getting yourself into?" And I said, "I want the job. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into." And he goes, "Fair enough." And so that's how, basically I got the job. Well, what I didn't realize, Jack, is that you and Jonathan are friends. And the way Jonathan tells the story, anyways, that you and he are riding a chairlift out of probably Tahoe somewhere, Squaw.
Yeah, Squaw. I think we're Alpine, because Squaw might have been, anyway, Squaw or Alpine. I think it was Alpine that day. But,
And I don't know if you asked the question or however my name came up, and Jonathan realized that you and I knew each other and we had worked together. And that's literally what got me the phone call with Jonathan and ultimately the job. So I owe you my job and my current career. Seriously, it's all about who you know, right? And as you know, like in our previous world, and I would say even in life now in general for everybody, like, reputation is everything. Hard to get, easy to lose. But no, I owe you that. And I think I've told you that story before, but I'm like, you have got to be kidding me how all this, comes together. So yeah, I've been doing that almost 7 years now. And
so cool. No, I remember it so well.
And loving it.
I remember that so well, because I built up all this leave up until through my last deployment to Iraq. And that would be the last one that I would actually tactically maneuver guys on the battlefield. And after that, it was my troop commander tour. And after that, it's admin. And for those listening, like, yeah, it sounds very impressive.
You weren't too psyched about that.
I was not.
I remember you weren't too psyched about that.
And I was lucky that I had those enlisted years, because I was creeping up on 20 at the time anyway. So same thing as with you. I had that couple years to take a breath, to look around, to study, think about transition, figure out that, hey, aligning passion and mission together in the post-military chapter of life is of vital importance, and maybe something you should put some thought into. And so I was very lucky that I had that time to do that. But point being, I had accumulated quite a few days of leave over the previous 17, 18 years. And I started taking that when I got to Buds and as the COO, and started taking that leave with my family, because the pendulum was on the side of the team for all those other years.
Yeah.
And I decided to get back that I was going to get out and move on and pursue this passion for writing this next dream. And so I started taking leave and started going to the mountains with the kids and meeting up with Jonathan up in Tahoe and that sort of thing. So yeah, I remember distinctly, we were on the chairlift. I met him at I think Squaw was closed for some reason, or for whatever reason. We ended up going to Alpine, and we're on that chairlift, and we're just talking about transition and future and how things are going at SITKA and what I'm thinking about as I get ready to get out and all that sort of thing. And he's like, "Hey, do you know this John Barklow guy?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're thinking about him for a position or something along those lines." And I was like, "Snatch that guy up right now."